Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meaningful Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Chantal Gerardy, and today I'm here with Christine Corcoran, who is an expert in sales and business mindset. Today we're going to be talking about relationship-based feminine selling, and I just love how that's put together, so I can't wait to talk more about that. And then we're going to talk about one of my most favorite topics to talk about, which we haven't yet done on the podcast, and that is DM selling through Instagram and Facebook. And we're also going to include how you can learn to love sales. And I know right now for me personally, that has been an absolute process in itself and journey. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation.
So share a little bit about your story. How did you get into doing what it is that you do right now? What's your background?
So previously to starting my business, I was in corporate. So I was in corporate sales, business management. And back then we were very much taught how to sell in a very structured way. And back then we were supporting other business owners. So I had about 100 business owners on my roster, and we would be taught how to then sell the strategy. And so we would go and we'd teach the strategy, and we would hope that those business owners would put that into practice and succeed with it. And what I found, and a couple of years in, I was really good at the sales aspect, but a couple of years in, I got to a place where I started to recognize certain patterns in people's businesses and started to recognize there were certain business owners that took that strategy and ran with it, and that was really successful. And then there'd be a month later, I'd see other business owners and they hadn't done anything, or they'd done half of it. And I'd be like, why is that happening? And I thought it was me. I actually thought it was my communication style. I thought it was the way that I was presenting the strategy. And so I was like, how can I get better at this? And I've always been someone who has loved growth. I'm always developing myself. And so I decided to look external to the corporate company and started to look at communication styles and human behavior, and became a little bit obsessed with the human behavior side. Then discovered what coaching was, because back then it wasn't even on my radar. I didn't know it existed as a career. And then explored neuroscience, NLP, and got obsessed with that, like obsessed with the brain, obsessed with our habits and understanding how the brain works and how we follow through and how fear shows up and all the things, and started to implement what I was learning with that with my corporate clients. And the company was like, what are you doing? You're doing something, because it started working. And they were like, what are you doing? And I was telling them what I was learning, and they were like, oh, can you teach the rest of the sales team? And I was like, amazing. So I started teaching what I was implementing with my clients, and they started to see great results. And as all corporate stories go, I got to a point where I was really, really wanting to do my own thing, but also really frustrated with just how slow things happen in corporate. Like I was like, I had all the big ideas. I was like, let's do this across the nation. Let's do all these things. And they were like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. We'll run it up the flagpole and see what happens. And then I'd be like 6 months later, I'm like, nothing has changed. And I'm like so bored. So I was like, I think I just want to do this coaching thing, and I want to work with only women, and I want to work with the clients that really want to grow. Because we were given a roster of 100, there were people that just were like happy just to maintain and happy just to be like doing their thing, and that just wasn't inspiring or motivating for me. So I was like, I'm just going to build up my business, which I did alongside my corporate career, because back then I had a mortgage, so I was like, I can't jump the way that a lot of people jump into their business. And I built up my clientele, and then left my corporate company and went full time. And so that was about 8.5 years ago. And I now work with service-based business women, really helping them become more confident in their sales process, confident in the way that they put themselves out there, and work through all the mindset blocks and everything that prevent them from succeeding.
Oh, I mean, I've never heard it said the same way as I've said it in previous podcasts. And that is the same thing that you said there, which was I couldn't understand why some of the clients that I was working with were getting results and others weren't getting results. And I was like, what is going on here? They've all got access to the same training. Some of them actually had more money, more resources, more experience, more past traction, and yet they were moving at a much slower rate. And whereas others would come in and they would just have like unbelievable results. And I was going, what is this thing? And I was like, is it time management? Is it productivity? Is it systems? Is it?
It's mindset.
Always
This
mindset thing is such a thing, because attitude is everything. So I love that. And I think one of the lovely things about becoming a coach is that when somebody engages in your services and they pay you, they've chosen you, and they've chosen to commit to that thing. And you'll get this as well. I'm sure in the past you've given away stuff for free, and when you give away your coaching for free, they don't value it, they don't implement it, they don't do it. However, people pay it. There's that emotional investment. They get involved and they go, oh, I've spent all this money. I better do something with it. So
Very true.
just love so much of that. So thank you so much. So what is this relationship-based, feminine selling? You've seen, we talk about spammy sales and salesy sales and sleazy sales. And, so tell me a little bit about this relationship-based feminine selling.
Well, I think being where Instagram, when I first started, I was kind of in the earlier stages of Instagram. So I got a lot of traction on Instagram, but at the same time, it was very icky in the way that people were selling. And we've seen the evolution of that, about how it's come out the other side and people are beyond angry at the fact that people are so out of integrity when they sell. And so they've been promised all this stuff. There's a high level of skepticism now because of the promises not being followed through on. The people buy into programs and they're like, this is not what I thought I was going to get. And so there's a high level of skepticism now. But when I look at the evolution, like, we're so bored and over the bro marketing tactics of the urgency, the fear, tear people down until they want to fix themselves. Like, there was just so many out of integrity tactics that were used over the last, say, however many years. And that really frustrated me. So I was like, I know sales. I can teach sales. Because when I first started in my business, I wasn't teaching sales. I was just doing coaching. And so I really didn't actually start teaching it until probably like 2 years in, I think it was. And it was because I actually was teaching it behind the scenes, but I hadn't told many people that I was doing that. I was still helping clients when they came to me and they were like, I'm struggling with this conversation. I don't know what to do with it next. Or how do I convert this client? Or this sales conversation I had last week didn't convert. I don't know why. And we'd explore why that was. And so I started to uncover that, like, a lot of the time when it comes to the tactics that were being taught, and I call it like bro marketing because people know what I'm talking about, the icky DMs, the emails, like the most common one at the moment, which is really frustrating. I had one this morning where you get these emails that people have joined your email list and then they email you and they're like, your email is going to my spam folder. Let me fix this. Or this is bad. This is wrong with your website. This is wrong with your YouTube video. And you're like, stop telling me I'm wrong.
I'm wrong. I hate that.
It's so horrible. But this is what people have been taught when it comes to sales. Yeah. And it's not a really beautiful way to go about selling and supporting someone and being like, I can help you. They're like, you're terrible. Let me fix you, which is a horrible place to start when it comes to sales. Yeah. It's a horrible place to start relationships because when you are working with a client, you are investing in a relationship. And especially when you're choosing a coach, you are literally investing in a relationship. And if you are starting that relationship from a place of discourse and from a place of out of integrity or from a place of being forced or convinced into buying, it's horrible. It's a horrible start to a relationship. So the way that I love to teach sales is understanding the feminine side of sales because, yes, you need the structure and you understand the process, which is the masculine side. So you need the process and need to understand that there is a process that someone goes through when they're thinking about making an investment. So once they're interested and they're considering, they go through stages to understand, like, is this going to be the right fit for me? Will I follow through on this? Will this work for me? What if it doesn't work for me? They go through an emotional resistance phase before they are then at the place of ready to buy. And people don't consider that. They just go off. If they're showing interest, here's the info, the logical side, here's the facts. That's all you really need to then buy. And then people miss out on so many sales because they haven't considered the emotional side of the emotional resistance. And so there's a whole element of this when I teach sales from the feminine side of understanding, trusting your intuition. Like, if you don't feel like it's the right time to sell, don't sell. Like, if it feels icky or gross or salesy or pushy, don't do it. Like, it's actually because it's showing the ideal client that you're talking to isn't ready and they haven't shown interest in order to then nurture to that next stage of the conversation. So it's also building in invitational sales. So I like to teach people how to invite people to the next stage of the sales process rather than actually like pushing them and convincing them. Because a lot of people have that negative mindset to sales that it's like, well, I have to convince, I have to push, and you don't have to do that at all. And then if you begin with relationship first, and you consider, like, when it comes to building a relationship, you don't ask someone, like, if you think about it from a dating aspect, you don't go from, hey, hi, what's your name, to, do you want to marry me? Right? That's like a great way to make
nowadays
people,
there would be some people who do that.
right? It's like catfishing, but like run. We're going to run the other direction. Yeah. So you've got to think about it from that perspective as well. Like, you've got to date first. You've got to build a relationship, build really good rapport, get to know someone first, really uncover whether they actually have the problem that you want to help them solve, whether they want to actually solve the problem before you present anything. And the way that people are selling online, they're literally going, here's what I sell, here's what I have, do you want it?
Oh, no. Yeah.
And that's where I'm talking about, like, let's start with a relationship first. And then once that client is interested, then we want to invite to the next stage of the sales process. And then we trust our intuition as a woman. And I think as well, when it comes to the feminine side, I'm really focusing on connection. We want to develop a level of connection in so many ways. So I can talk about this forever, so we're going to talk about it. But like the connection piece is not just building a connection and building rapport, but it's actually connecting your ideal client's needs to your offer. So then they know it's the right fit. So there's lots of parts of the process when we build connection in as well, because otherwise it feels like, you know, lots of problems happen in the sales process if you don't develop that connection.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. It's just so good. When it does, coming to selling, there's a couple of things there that you said, and I think it comes down to, you said taught. Some people are taught that way. Sometimes people are taught that way.
Well, they just view it online and think, I'll just do that.
That's the other thing I was going to say. It's like that monkey see, monkey do, where it's like, I see you doing it, so that means I must do that because that must work then. They don't really know that that's not actually working, and that's actually stopping people from getting clients.
Yeah.
Or
they don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
No, they're no idea, and they're just copying them. And that happens all the time, and I can give an example of that as well. But the other one as well is that you're selling from a place of desperation. And I always say that people can sniff your desperation online. Like if you are
1,000%.
I've got this program and you need to sell this program, there's this desperation, there's an energy in your content, there's an energy in the words and the way that you are portraying it, whether or not you know it or don't know it, and people could feel that.
1,000%, which is another part of the feminine, because if you're not embodied in your confidence, if you don't believe in the value of what you deliver and you truly believe it's worth what you're charging, people will feel that desperation. And so you've got to be an embodied leader when it comes to selling. And I think that that's another side that when I talk to clients, we try to pinpoint, like, what's the actual problem? Where's the gap? Is it your messaging? Is it actually your strategy? Is it the way you're going about it? Is your mindset? Is it actually you? Because sometimes it's them and they're actually just not embodied in the way that they present themselves or present their offer.
Yeah, it's so good. And they don't know how to articulate it. Communication can be a huge part of that.
Massive one.
Massive part of it. So, you know, you've got your confidence, but then there is that communication as well. It's like if you can't articulate what you do for who and how and what's in it for them and why you are this, if you can't do any of that, how are you going to have these conversations? So we have to become better communicators. If you're going to be sharing your message with the world, you know.
Especially in 2026, I think one of the biggest things now is that level of communication and authentic communication, because with AI, like, we're seeing so much that is inauthentic, or we're seeing so much that we can't trust. We're in like a trust recession, really, is the way that I think about it now. We're in a major trust recession. And if we're not really understanding what's happening for our ideal client and we're not communicating authentically, we're missing so much, so many opportunities and leaving so much money on the table.
Yeah, I think connection is key. People are craving connection right now with everything that's going on. And I also think that sometimes, you know, sometimes people don't quite know who they are. Like when you say be your authentic self, I think we can say that, but sometimes people don't really know what that is.
And I also think that there's a journey that we go on to really like step into our authenticity in your messaging and in the way that you present your offer and in who you are as whatever business owner that you are. Like, I think there's a whole evolution that happens over the years, and then as well on camera. So if you are wanting to share on camera and the way that you show up on video, there's a level of authenticity of a journey that you have to go through, because when you first put that camera up in front of your face, you're probably not going to feel authentic. You're going to feel a bit fake. You're going to feel a bit like, I used to have to try and work out of trying not to be that professional corporate voice, because obviously coming from corporate, I was like, it felt really awkward and I felt like I was putting on a persona, but I had to work through that. And then you have to work through all the mindset stuff of like, am I going to be judged? What I'm an imposter, like all the things that come up. So I think there's an evolution of authenticity that has to happen as a business owner, as to step into that whole new level of authenticity that's expected now.
Yeah, it's so good. And I think part of that then is also being able to talk about your credibility, because when you are selling, you do need to infuse some of your selling in there and have this level of credibility, because it is why you are this. Yeah. There's a gazillion people out there right now. So besides connecting with them and communicating your offer, credibility is a huge part of that. Like you've got to be able to confidently say, I have over 300 reviews online and, I'm an international award-winning marketing strategist. Like you have to be able to say those things, and a lot of people struggle with that when they're first starting out.
Especially here in Australia, and New Zealand. I spent a lot of time in America the year before last, and what I love about Americans is that they're so forthcoming with that information, right? And in a really confident way. They're like, this is what you should know about me so then we can have a great conversation or to know how I can help you. Like I spent a lot of time in the entrepreneurial world there, and in the right circles, it's very supportive, and I loved it. And so what I took away from that was like exactly what you just said. Like we have to be so forthcoming in sharing why you should trust me. Yeah. And we just aren't doing that. Australians are very backwards in coming forwards. We've got the tall poppy syndrome, which keeps us from, we're scared to actually put ourselves up and be like, oh, I'm different, right? And so we've got to really work through that as that deep programming and conditioning, which is actually why I started the Unstoppable Women event last year. Was that whole intention was to eradicate tall poppy in the business space.
Awesome. So good. So good I brought it up.
Yeah, like it just literally makes me think of it because we talked about it so much because I was like, you need to understand like what your authority markers are firstly, but then start talking about it more. Like we don't know. We're not going to go searching your about page on your website to find out your experience, your expertise or your awards. Like you need to talk about it more.
Yeah, love that so much. All right, so let's go now into the DM selling through Instagram and through Facebook because you've got some really cool methods that you teach and I'd love you to share that with our audience.
Sure. So, okay. So firstly, we want to have a community. It always has to start with community and building trust and connection with your community. And then starting with the invitation, inviting people to have more conversations with you. So then you actually have conversations to further. So it might feel like, a lot of sales coaches for a while were teaching, just go send 50 DMs a day because it was Instagram's limit, right? Like if you send more than 50, you get like banned or something. Yeah. And I was like, but only send to people you're building relationships with and that are your ideal client. Like this needs to be some parameters there.
100%.
Right? And I think that as well, like you've got to recognize that if you are starting the conversation, there's already going to be a level of skepticism. There's already going to be a bit of a barrier up for people already knowing you're going to be selling to them.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So don't sell straight away. That's my first piece. Like, please
100%.
do not sell straight away. Don't even mention it. Like, there's no point to it. You have not built a relationship. You're not going to go to the first date and say, here's a ring, let's get married. Like, don't do that. And so start firstly with building rapport and relationships. And you know who your ideal clients are. I would hope you would know that. And so we want to start there of like building your community filled with those people. So showing level of support and communication across your platforms, utilize your platforms and build those relationships. When you build those relationships and you also show, say, on your stories of how you're having conversations in the DMs, it builds a level of trust and safety for an ideal client to also converse with you. So you see this with the people that you follow. I'm sure there's people that you follow that you can see that they talk about having conversations in the DMs or they show some of the conversations they're having in DMs. And so we want to start to build first an element of safety because then more of your audience will then be like, oh, she's open to having these conversations.
Yeah.
Because there's a bit of like sometimes pedestaling that can happen that feels uncomfortable to DM someone. Like I had someone reach out to ask me to be on their podcast recently and she was saying how she's put it off for 6 months. I just didn't want to DM you. I thought I'd be bothering you.
Yeah.
I'm like, you are not bothering people. But if you start with relationship first, you will not be bothering, right? And so we want to start building relationships first, and then we want to uncover whether they actually have a need for your service. And so people often go to sales too quickly.
Yeah.
So we want to slow the process down and nurture that relationship first. The beauty of our small population is that majority of people only know 3 or 4 other business owners that do what you do. So they're most likely going to go to people they trust first. They're going to go to people they've already built a relationship with if they know what it is that you do. So I'm a big believer of treating your Instagram like your business shop front. So if people don't see that you're available, they're not going to have a conversation with you. If you're not visible first and foremost. But secondly, if you're not showing that there's a level of communication that's happening behind the scenes, people don't know that's available to them. So we've got to start there and then you can nurture those conversations. I have a resource that I can share with you, actually, a link to that resource to know then how to nurture that relationship to then a sale. And my rule of thumb around it is only sell in the DMs to a certain income level, investment level. So I find that it's easier to sell a product or service that's under $1,000. You can absolutely sell that in a DM if your social media content backs up.
100%.
Yeah. So you've got to have
connection, credibility. Yeah.
trust,
Yeah.
like consistent content, like all of the things that actually supports that relationship to then convert. If you're under $1,000 of a service, you can sell there. Above that, you may have another sales system that you want to direct them to. So it might be going into a funnel, it might be going into a sales call, it might be going to a webinar, an online masterclass, an event. Like there's so many different ways that you can go about selling and converting them. But don't go too fast, right? Pay attention to the signs, because some people will ask certain questions or they will show that they're in a level of interest, and then you ask and invite them to the next stage. So would you like to know more? Would you like to have a conversation?
You've got to get buy-in. You just have to get buy-in.
100% get buy-in. And that level of commitment, because if they're not ready for that next stage, they will tell you and then you back off, right? Trust your intuition. And don't sell when there's no interest, or don't sell when they're not the right fit. Don't sell when they're not actually showing that they're ready for the next step.
Yeah. So I think, there's two things here that I see all the time. And the one is that people think that they can sell to everyone. Everyone is my ideal client, and not everyone is your ideal client. So you've got to get crystal clear on who your ideal client is, what their pain is, what their aspiration is, and what's the logical process that they would go through in order to form that relationship with you and make that sale. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that, like you were saying, is that everybody wants to move quickly through the DMs. They want a quick fix. They want their marketing to be quick. They want their relationship to be built, and they just want to make more sales. And the reality is that that's not how it works. That's not how people buy. That's not part of their buying process. So a lot of people go, I don't have time. I don't have time to move slowly and track it, because we use a CRM. We track all our leads through a CRM. We monitor our conversations. We track the pipeline and where they're at so that it's logical. And people go, I don't have time for that. And I go, well, then you don't deserve those clients. Because you're not wanting to have a meaningful relationship with them. You're treating them like a number and a sale. You're not treating them like a person that you can help and support.
Well, they even call them tire kickers. Like, I don't want to have another phone call with that person because I think I've got more questions. That makes me so angry. I'm like, this person has shown a level of interest that they're actually in need of your service or product, and you are not willing to have a conversation with them to support their hesitation or emotional resistance to move through to the next stage. That honestly always gripes me of I don't want to put an opportunity to put a call on my website because then I'll get tire kickers. I'm like, you'll get interested people in your service, and you can practice your sales process to see what works and what doesn't work. Come on. It really annoys me.
I had one lady and she was like, Chantal, we want to build a landing page. I'll work with you, but I want to build the landing page. And the funnel is that I do my content, they come to the landing page, they buy my $10,000 program, but I don't want to use my personal brand. I don't want them to see my face. I don't want them to know my name.
Oh my
God. And I want,
I'm
going to use a ghost name and stuff. And I was like, I can't be your client. I can't, you cannot be my client. There's no ways you can be my client, because that's not going to happen. Even Tony Robbins has people who pick up the phone for $2,500 ticket to his event. He still has people pick up the phone and close
Answer
that
questions.
ticket.
Exactly.
And he's Tony Robbins. So there's no way people are going to buy $10,000 from a complete stranger. It's not
he
happen.
could literally stop creating content right now and still have a bank of content for the rest of his life. He wouldn't need to, right? But that would make me super angry. I'd be the exact same response. No, I won't be your coach.
No.
There has to be a level. And I think that, even with sales conversations, or even just business in general, we've got to play the long game. If you're actually treating your clients like that, and that's before they've even paid you, you're showing them a level of service that you're going to deliver. So you need to recognize that sales is actually part of your service. And if you're not nurturing them at that point, you're basically showing them that I'm actually not going to care even if you pay me.
Yeah.
Right? It really gripes me.
100%. Yeah. I feel the same way. So the third thing I want to talk about was learning to love sales. Now, for myself, what's happened in my business in the last year, and it should have happened probably 2 years ago, was that my calendar was so filled with sales calls, right? And that's been a process. So I had to learn how to do sales. I had to learn how to do sales calls, trial, error, did training, invested in it. And I got to the point now where I can't continue to do strategy sessions and sales calls. So I need somebody to be following up, and doing the customer service and answering answering all the questions and following up. And so now I brought somebody else on. And I didn't realize how good I'd actually become in sales. I didn't realize until I actually started to
Teach it.
to teach her on how to do it. And, we was monitoring and doing calls with her, and she's amazing. She's still part of my team now. And it's been a process, and she's doing exceptionally well. Like in 5 months, she's got up to a level that would have taken me 5 years or 6 years to do because, she's got all the time to do it, and that's all she's doing.
Yeah, amazing.
But it takes time. So firstly, it takes time, and it takes an investment in yourself, and it takes a lot of failing.
Yeah.
And did I love it? No, I did not love it. Absolutely hated it. And even now when I jump on a sales call now, I don't hate it anymore, but I jump on the call. I don't even follow a script. I just go and I do it. And I do it naturally, and I just can't believe how far I've progressed over this time. But to say, like, did I love it in the beginning? No, I didn't. But what I realized was that if I don't make sales, I'm not going to
have a
have
business.
sales.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to have
Exactly.
money. So it's one of those things that I had to learn and go, I've got to get better at this, but I've also got to learn to love it. And part of that for me was, some of the things I used to do was before I went onto a sales call was I'd have to change my state,
Oh, yeah.
get my mindset into like a good rhythm. Then I'd go read all my reviews and case studies and testimonials so that I could beef up my
Love it.
muscle of I've actually helped people achieve stuff. So I'm worthy of all of this. And then go, okay, like how can I be of service to this person? So this is something that I still do to this day. That's a process that I go through and do. It's definitely a lot easier now. I can't believe how natural I've become in it. So if I can learn how to do sales, you can learn how to do sales and if I can learn how to do marketing, you can, because I got ADHD. I'm not natural at any of this shit. I had to learn it. Like that's the God honest truth with it. So when it comes to learning to love sales, what are other things that you would think is a good thing to focus on?
Yeah. So I love this conversation because I hear this all the time. Like, literally have people come to me. I had someone literally say it to me. I was speaking at a retreat, and she said to me, point blank, right in my face, I hate sales. And I was like, game on. I'm gonna make you love it. And now she loves it. And there's a couple of key pieces we need to explore first. So firstly, it's your mindset around sales. So why do you hate it? First and foremost, what is the associations that you have with sales? So sometimes when I ask that question, like when you even think of sales first and foremost, what comes to mind? Majority of the time, it's a used car salesman. It's like, why? Like, have you actually had an experience with a used car salesman, or is just that the programming because of all the TV and the movies and how people talk about sales in such a negative way? And so usually it's that conditioning that we've already had around sales of like, oh, what sales actually means. I'm going to have to pressure. I'm going to have to push. I'm going to have to convince people to buy. And that's bad sales. Like, to be honest, I'm just going to say
that's not what you want.
It's bad sales.
100%. That's not what you actually want.
That just creates buyer's remorse, right? When someone's felt pressured into buying something. And so we first identify and uncover what are the belief systems that you currently have about sales. We need to explore why that is and where that's come from. Now, sometimes it's their own negative experience, and maybe they felt pressured into buying before and they don't want that to happen for their clients again, which of course we don't want, right? We prefer someone to be like, I want in, yes, let me give you your money, right? KFC, let me take your money.
Yeah.
So like really conscious of like what is the experience that you want to create for your client, because you can create a beautiful sales experience for your client that is enjoyable for you and enjoyable for your customer. The second piece is, and
hold on before
Sorry.
you move on, because this is too exciting for me to like not just
Dive
add
in.
something
Yeah.
into this. Sometimes it can be also, and correct me if I'm wrong, but lack of self-worth. They don't think they're worthy of being paid that amount of money. They maybe don't believe in their product or not connected to what it is that they're actually selling.
Yeah.
So it could be themselves, it could be their product, or like a money mindset thing where they just, don't believe in the price or don't believe people would pay for something like that. Although some other things that would come into that.
1,000%. Yeah. That's why I teach money mindset with every sales process that I do when I teach sales, because we all, especially women, have a lot of hang-ups around money. And so then we're so fearful of like, well, I'm taking money from someone, or can I charge that much? Like there's all that deep inner work that we need to do when it comes to money and self-worth with relation to sales. And then the other part is the sales process. So a lot of people hate sales because they actually don't know it. They've never been taught it, and there's no judgment there. Like if you've never been taught sales, if you've never learned it and you jumped into your business, it's like anything. You had to learn marketing, you had to learn inventory, you had to learn admin, like you had to learn how to update your website. Like there's all these skills that we need to develop, and sales is one of those. Yeah. And so if you've never learned it and you don't understand the process, then it feels like you have to revert to tactics.
Yeah.
And that's where it feels gross, because you don't want to do that. You don't want to use scarcity and fake scarcity or fake urgency, because it feels so out of integrity. And so I love to teach people how to understand the sales process, the stages you need to take someone through, and the questions you need to ask in order to do that, the identifiers that show a client whether they're interested and whether they've got hesitations or objections, how to overcome objections. Because like deep down, people are so fearful of the rejection or so fearful of not knowing how to respond to an objection, and so then they run from that conversation.
You've got to get used to no's. Because the reality is that you're going to like speak to 10 people and only make 1 or 2 sales. So
and
you've
not
got
make
to
it
get
mean
used to
anything
it.
about you, because actually they're not buying from you. I actually have a completely different take on that. They're never buying from you. They're buying the change. They're buying the solution. They're buying the desire that they're looking for. They're investing in themselves, really. They're investing in their own business. And so when we start to disconnect from that, because we're so, especially as women, like we connect so much to our business being us. And if you need to disconnect yourself from your business and your offer and start to see the value in your offer through your ideal client's eyes, then you will start to see the value in it. Right? Yeah. The reason why they need you is because they cannot achieve that result on their own, or they need you to achieve a certain desire because you have the answers, or you have the knowledge or the strategy or the framework. Like they need that, and you need to start seeing the value from that, from your customer's perspective rather than from your own. And so disconnecting all of that self-worth stuff from
about
your
you.
offer and from the money and all the things, you're able to sit and have that sales conversation and not make it anything about you, because it isn't about you. If you focus your conversation on the client and supporting them through it, you're able to nurture and invite them to the next stage without making it mean anything about you. And that's also, moving beyond the fear of the rejection, because you do get no's. And a lot of the time, if you stay present and you hold space for that no and you nurture that no and you play the long game, clients will come back to you.
Yeah,
like
they definitely do. Swings
will.
And roundabouts.
Yeah, so think about how you want to make your people feel. So if you're showing up from that place of desperation, or if you're showing 100%. Up from scarcity, or if you're showing up from insecurity, people will feel that over everything else. It doesn't matter what you say. Yeah. Same thing with like if you're selling on stories, on a webinar, anything like that, your energy says so much more than what your words do. And so I love all the practices that you do before your sales call. That's perfect. And I actually have a recorded audio that all my clients get access to, that they get to listen to, that pumps them up, reminds them of their worth, reminds them of their value. So then they get on that call and they're like, I've got this. Because you've got to have that, because conviction is everything. Conviction helps overcome any uncertainty. So allowing you to understand, yes, you've got to learn to communicate your offer effectively, but if you communicate that from a place of insecurity, that's not going to work.
No, it's
right?
not.
So there's so much to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's number 2?
Oh, that was number 2.
What was that, number 2?
The sales process.
Yeah.
Yeah, understanding the sales process.
Perfect. Yeah. And it is a process, because people are at different stages in their life. It comes down to timing. It comes down to the different personality types. I don't know if you do that in your programs, but definitely like, I always talk about the disc profile, and people buy differently. Like I'm a D personality type, if you haven't worked that one out. So I'm very outcome focused. So I always use the example of, I went to Telstra and I said, right, I need a new phone. I said, I know what I need. I need the latest Apple.
Now the criteria.
I said, I had it done. Yeah. The latest Apple, I needed this many gigabytes. I want it on a plan. I want this, da-da-da-da. And the lady went, blah, 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 and started showing me this and asked me how my day was and what am I doing today or whatever. The worst thing to do for a D personality type.
Just get me my product.
So anyway, we left Telstra and my head was exploding. My heart rate was through the roof, because I'm a DD, like I'm a DC, not a DD, but a DC, DD. And then I went next door to JB Hi-Fi, and I went in there and I said to the lady, I've just come from Telstra. I literally told her what I wanted and wanted her just to give me the phone. And she goes, and I said, look, I've ended up walking out, didn't get the phone. She goes, here's the phone. Here's what I need you to sign. And I said, thank you very much.
See you later.
That's it. And they got the sale, because I'm a D. Like, it's so important to understand personality types. So sales process, really important. Personality types, really important. Identifying those. Knowing your personality profile as well, because I know that I'm a DC.
Yeah, so
I also
attract
know
a lot of DCs.
And I know that I'm also from South Africa, and South Africans can be classed as a little bit sort of harsh. So what I've learned as well, like Australians like to be asked for permission. So I've had to become aware that I don't want to put even if I'm outcome based, if I do, for example, have a process driven person in front of me, then I need to be talking to them about the process, the next steps that they need to take.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than take them down like what I am, because outcome focused people like D's can try to get to the close too quickly.
Yes.
Like just buy it now.
Yeah, you got the facts.
You've got the facts. You've got everything in front of you. It's all just there. Just sign up.
You ready? Hurry up. Yeah. Whereas an S would run from that.
An
oh my
S
gosh.
would run.
Yeah.
So an S is a steady personality type, and an S would they need to know that they can take their time and that you're happy to answer any questions that they may have.
They need proof from the past. They
Yep.
need to know that you've done it many times before. Like they want to know your framework. Like there's so much more. And then even an I, like I love that even an I would run from that too because they're like, don't you want to know my pet's name?
100%. 100%. So, in the rapport stage, that's where we identify all of those things, right? So that's why that rapport is so important. So, oh my gosh, so many good things here. I could talk about this forever. Where can people connect with you?
So I spend most of my time on Instagram. You'll find me there, but I'm across every platform. You find in my handle's Christine Corcoran _coach. I also have a podcast called The Next Level Life, which will be a guest on as well, which is going to be super fun. And my website is my name, christinecorcoran.com.au.
Excellent. Thanks so much. And we'll put all of that in the show notes. So this has been another episode of the Meaningful Marketing Podcast. I am your host, Chantal Gerardy. If you haven't already, please make sure that you subscribe, share, comment, like, send me a DM and let me know what other content you'd like me to provide on this podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe on onlinebusinessmarketing.com.au so we can send this out to you when it launches. Thanks so much again for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
See ya.